Hello there, Ray here, and welcome to this amazing farm. This thing is an AFK bartering farm, allowing you to get tons of gold, which will automatically be sent into a piglin who barters for it for a wide range of very useful items. Besides getting all the automatic bartering loot, you also get a bunch of gold nuggets. Not only does this farm provide tons of gold as well as bartering loot, it also gives the player an average of 108,000 XP per hour, which is equivalent to level 172, or equivalent to getting a level 30 over 77 times in just 1 hour. And this XP farm actually produces more XP per hour than an Enderman farm. So this also makes a great XP farm while you're just AFKing. Now this farm is completely customizable. You can go ahead and choose any type of size you want for the spawning platforms. You can remove these little square sections and just have these flat sections. You can have one layer, you can have just one little side, or you can have all 4 sides. It's really completely up to you. This is probably about the biggest you want to make it. The farm itself is quite simple to understand as well as build. It's nothing too complicated. Entire redstone devices down here are just 2 item sorter, one on this side, one on this side, and the third redstone device is just a small clock right over here. And that is all there is to it, guys. There is hardly anything to this thing. Despite this farm looking very simple, this farm produces 370 barters per hour, all while being AFK. If you did not do the bartering and you just took the gold ingots yourself as well as the gold nuggets and craft them into gold blocks, that would be equivalent to 2 stacks of gold blocks per hour. If you guys are wondering what are all the new farms for 1.16, I have a great video covering every single new automatic farm for the Nether update, as well as I have a playlist for all 100 plus simple farms for Minecraft. Bartering is a new thing that is in 1.16. It uses the new Piglin mob, which if there is a gold ingot nearby him, you'll be able to reach it and pick it up and look at it. It takes 6 seconds for him to analyze it. Then he will drop out some items that are based on these amounts as well as weights. You can also right click him to give him the gold ingot. And by doing bartering, you get access to a wide range of different items. The ones at this side of the chart are the heaviest weight, meaning you'll see them the most often. And the amount that you'll get when he does give it is these numbers here. So each of these ones with a weight of 40 is about 10% chance of getting. The weight of 20 ones are about a 5% chance of getting. The weight of 10 have a 2% chance of getting. This one also has about 2% chance, and the book here has a 1% chance of getting it. If you went ahead and traded one whole stack of gold ingots with a piglin, this is what you'd get on average. The book, you don't have half a chance of getting it. But with this AFK bartering farm, you can go ahead and AFK and get all this loot plus this in 1 hour. Plus you'd get almost a stack and a half worth of gold blocks from all the nuggets that were never crafted, and that 108,000 XP per hour. So this farm is extremely useful, probably almost as useful as my AFK raid farm, which produces over 72 unique items while AFK. The way that the farm works is quite simple. We have a single pigman who is 40 blocks away from the player, and he is holding an item so he cannot despawn, or he's name tagged so he can't despawn. This guy is able to see the player who is straight in front of him. There he is. Is able to remember that the player is somebody who attacked the nearby pigman, and therefore he is constantly mad at the player wanting to go after him. But he himself is not able to go out towards the player because he is on this little teeny pillar out here. And he's so far out, he's farther than the average aggro range, which cheater code looked into the Minecraft code, and it is 35 blocks plus or minus 2 blocks. So what he does is he tries to anger the pigman inside of this range, this about 35 block range. Any pigman that happens to spawn over here will be aggroed by this guy. So essentially they're told that the player is at so-and-so location and that they should start walking towards it. Now these guys don't actually have to see the player, don't matter where they are here. They will get that information from that guy who can see the player, and they will just immediately start walking towards the player. Now the guys on the far side are too far away for that satellite pigman to tell them about being angry. So the way that these other guys get angry is that when the pigmen that spawn somewhat close to him get mad, they will also call out and tell other pigmen that are a little bit farther away within their range that they should also be mad. And because there are so many pigmen, they're able to easily tell each other to all be mad at this player who's in the center long as the person who is telling the commands can see the player, which most pigmen at this wide level can see the player. You can see the player right there. They're able to inform even the pigmen up here on top, which can also kind of see the player at different angles. This way, when pigmen spawn anywhere around the edge, they will immediately get mad at the player and start walking towards them. We have some little walkways to allow the pigmen to get all the way to where the player is at. This allows us to kill all pigmen with a central killing device, making it a lot easier to collect the items. Because pigmen don't spawn within 24 blocks of the players, we can't really place in spawning places closer. We need to have these little bridges. We have these little bridges which allow them to walk all the way around to the player. To keep the pigmen kind of far away from the player on these sides, that way they don't attempt to pile up in thinking that they are closer than what they can get over here. So over here, they think they can get closest to the player by being only 1 block away, which can't be said about other sides. And because of that, they'll concentrate on walking into this one area that is closest to the player. They have no problem falling into this shallow hole here since they don't see it as being dangerous. But what happens is we have 24 minecarts there which are creating entity cramming, which does a consistent large amount of damage and kills the pigmen. Since they are mad at the player while they are dying, they will drop XPs as if the player killed them. They'll also drop gold ingots, because it's considered a player kill as well. Those gold ingots are being picked up by this guy over here. They also drop golden nuggets, gold swords, and rotten flesh. The gold nuggets are immediately picked up by 2 hopper sorters. These item filters are just pulling out the nuggets. There's one there. And there's also one right here. And the nuggets are stored down in these chests down below. The piglin here, who is bartering, grabs any gold ingots that are still left in there as they don't get pulled out by the hoppers, because the hoppers which are pulling are only allowing gold nuggets to go through. Everything else stays up on top. And then he will barter for them, and his items will be dropped by him downwards into this hopper and then put into any chest down below. This is how you're able to automatically barter for goodies without having to do any crafting. Now the small clock here that is on the side, this is how we get rid of the items. We push them over here into this fire. After doing several hours of testing, I was able to get this to work. The way that I set this up is it will every so often retract this trapdoor, allowing any items which are sitting in here to then be in front of the trapdoor and then get pushed over here into the fire and get destroyed. So when this torch here goes out, you'll see it retracts this piston and trapdoor. When it extends, it pushes all the items into the fire there. Now this is done by not actually using a clock, but instead using the probability of a piglin dropping something that is non-stackable. So whenever a piglin drops like boots or flash potions or drinkable potions or enchanted books, these things will put off a larger signal strength than the small items. So when they come through, they will come over here and go up this redstone here and turn off this redstone torch for a short period. I can show that by just taking a boot here, and if I drop it into this chest here, you see it retracts it, and then once the boot goes away, it will extend again, pushing all the items over. This is a smart way of using other things in the build to your advantage, like using that as a clock. Now the reason why we have to get rid of the gold swords, typically you just let them despawn, but there is currently a bug in Minecraft where pigmen who have the ability to pick up swords can pick up and drop swords very, very quickly. You can see it happening here. You can see this guy's sword is switching from enchanted to unenchanted. And what he does is actually pick up a whole bunch of swords all at once and then drops them, keeps switching. Even though he's switching just between 2 swords, he kind of takes in a whole bunch at once. And every time he drops items, the item age is reset. So the time they take until they despawn is reset. They never reach the 5-minute mark, so they never despawn. This is kind of similar to, you kind of see with dolphins when they pick up items and drop them. Except this is actually a bug where they're picking up a whole bunch of items all at once and keep swapping them. They did fix a similar problem that we had with mobs picking up armor that did exactly the same thing. But they never fixed it to do with the swords or the weapons. Because of this reason, we have to make sure that the swords are removed every so often. Otherwise, there'll just be thousands of swords that they're going to constantly pick up and drop. Now, only pigmen that can pick up items do this, but because there's so many pigmen here and the difficulty gets pretty high over time, there's a high chance that these guys will be able to pick up swords. So there's like a 55% chance they'll be able to pick up a sword, which is over half these guys. Now, the pigmen spawn all around the edges, and the ones on top layer are easily able to drop downwards. Because they are mad at the player, they have no problem hopping down the small ledge, even if they take some damage. Then they walk towards the center. Notice that these blocks that we have here are all slabs. that prevents gas or other types of mobs from spawning on them while you're not AFKing in here. Mobs are able to pathfind over here. They make a small little climb up here, and we have this left side a little bit longer than the right side. This allows it so that they don't jam. Notice how the guys that kind of come from the left side have priority over the guys on the right side. And they're kind of like a zipper. They kind of work together and all move into the center. If they're both the exact same length, they kind of fight here at the entrance. But instead, we always allow a steady flow of pigment into the killing chamber. By keeping this shape nice and squarish, it also makes it much easier to collect the items down underneath. So down here in the center, there is 24 minecarts. The way the minecarts are stacked inside of each other is by placing a rail like this and then clicking on the bottom of the rail. So you're looking at the hitbox and just keep clicking until there's 24. And then when you're done, you just remove this rail here. Then you push in the trapdoor. This allows us to do a large amount of damage to the pigmen consistently. This will kill the pigmen within a matter of seconds, allowing their XPs as well as loot to drop. Now the XP orbs are quite big, so they're able to clip through this trapdoor and escape it and eventually try to move towards the player, which can be hard to see, but they are actually moving in this direction. And you can see a steady flow of them. Try to get themselves close to the player if the player is nearby. And we got the player close enough so that they will be attracted to him. They move directly underneath the player and then they can kind of jump a few blocks upwards. They're able to get pulled in by the player right through the trapdoor. And we have a couple extra holes here. Like we have one hole here on the bottom to allow XPs through. We have one right here to allow XPs through. We also got one right here, as XPs are half block tall, so they can fit through all these little slots so that we don't lose any XPs that can't make it through. Now, the trapdoor on the far side is to prevent the minecarts from escaping their little spot over there. We don't want them to get pushed over here. This also allows XPs to get through as well. Because there is a trapdoor on the floor as well as a block up here, baby pigmen cannot actually fit through this hole. Only the rare circumstance when the piston retracts and pushes again will a baby sometimes be able to fit through here. That's why there's a wither rose here to kill it. You don't need to have a wither rose there, but you might get some baby pigmen that sit down here. You just have to kill them every so often. Maybe every hour you might find 5 of them down here. Now any rotten flesh or swords that ends up over here isn't a big deal. They will just despawn. If a pigment happens to take these swords, then when they drop them again, they'll end up back over here where they can get pushed into the lava or fire, which I have for this one. Any gold ingots that fall over here will be picked up by the piglin. Any gold nuggets will be picked up by the sorters. Only rarely will items actually be able to fly all the way over into this block, where nuggets won't be able to be picked up, but ingots will still be able to by this guy. Now ideally, you don't really want the pigmen to be sitting in the minecarts when they die, because then their items as well as XPs kind of get dropped down by their feet, which are technically way down here inside this hopper. If we do F3 plus B, we can see this like line right here, this little white line. This is actually the bottom of their feet, so their items are kind of being dropped here. This means that sometimes rarely items will clip into the hopper and glitch down into the bottom of this hopper. Now this might not seem like a big deal, but there has been changes made to hoppers in the newer versions where they're able to actually pick up items despite there being a container on top of them. We have a hopper on top of this hopper, and this one's locked, so I can't currently pick up anything. There's nothing in either of these hoppers. But if I unlock this hopper here, you'll see that this item can actually get pulled in by this hopper down below, despite there being a container on top of it. So if I go ahead and remove this, you see it got pulled into this hopper down below. Now this only works if it's in the very bottom of the hopper. The item is sitting kind of near the ledge here, it won't get picked up by it. This is how those gold swords got into here earlier. Despite there being an item filter in this system, the gold swords were still able to get in here. And the fix for that was shown to me by Curb, and that was just to put some items in here that are same as the filtered out items. So the gold nuggets, just put them in one hopper below it. That way, any items that fall into there can't actually get picked up because this thing's already full of nuggets. And they'll constantly be cycled by the system. Same thing for this side over here. Just having nuggets in there prevents the swords or flesh from getting pulled in. Now this hole here where the items get pushed out, items don't normally get shot out into the fire. If it's an ingot, the ingots will automatically be picked up by the piglin over there, and the nuggets automatically get picked up as well. You don't have to worry about stuff getting lost over here. The XP also won't be able to fit through here anyways, so you don't lose any XP out that way. But it is important that that trap door is there in the floor, otherwise the pigmen won't pathfind into this hole very quickly. They'll be kind of slow. That's because they have to think that there is a block down there. And that's how we're able to make them jump down this hole without actually having any trapdoors on this side here, or any trapdoors on this side. This trapdoorless setup for dropping in pigment was designed by cheater codes and it works really nicely. I had to change out some things like the bottom piece here in order to get in all my other redstone. And in our original design we had a rail down in here which worked really good, but I had to come in with a trapdoor instead so I can actually push the items over here into the fire. I'll just show you guys what happens if this retracts and if it stays retracted. Notice that the pigment don't actually feed into the chamber because they don't see it as a good location to go into. And that's why this thing only retracts and then pushes forward very quickly. Now the single piglin is able to do 600 barters per hour. And this farm produces 370 gold ingots per hour or 370 barters per hour. So with one piglin, he's able to keep up with it. But because of all those barters, he can easily fill up many double chests full of items. Now to keep this farm simple, I didn't put in any sorters, but you can if you want to. If you want an item sorter, it's pretty simple. You can just hook it up just like this one is, where the items come out and get sorted among all these sorters. At the very end, we just have all the items that can't be sorted being put it into the very last chest here. This is the original farm, which I was going to show you guys. It is a section of our beacon farm, which is going to be upcoming videos. Make sure you guys subscribe as well as click the bell button so you guys don't miss out on that amazing video. And we've been designing a lot of gold farms and bartering farms over the last 6 months during our snapshot testing streams. So big thanks to everybody who joined us for those streams. We actually opened up a world and let all the viewers hop on as we design these things up together. And I recently reached partner there on Twitch, so you guys will be able to get a whole bunch of new perks for joining my streams. Make sure you follow me using the link in the description. Now this farm worked great when we had it built just above the bedrock because the higher you go up, the slower mobs spawn in. And the reason why we build the pigman bartering farm at the top of the world so you don't have to worry about mobs spawning down inside the caves underneath of the bedrock here. Because every one that spawns down here is just another one that won't spawn in your farm. So by going up 128 blocks above any cave, we are guaranteed that all new mobs spawning in will be put into this farm. This also means they're going to spawn in a lot slower. So what I did is I just took this design and pasted it on all 4 sides. And then I filled in between them, and then I made 2 layers instead of 1 to give a lot of area for them to spawn in. I had a lot of help from the fellow ProtoTech members as well as viewers designing up the initial farm for this, as well as random games who designed quite a few simple gold farms. So if you guys want to check those out on his channel, I put it down in the description. Now if you don't have enough materials to build this whole thing, you can always build it smaller, but I wouldn't build it any bigger. This is because of the mob cap. Mob cap for one single player in the Nether dimension is 70 mobs. And we can see the statistics right here where this M is. The highest that the game wants to put in mobs is up to number 70. It can sometimes go over 70. But trying to get the biggest bang out of your buck, you want to have enough spawning spaces so that it will get close to 70 at all times, but won't go over. You can see this mob farm stays very close to being at a mob cap of 70 at all times. By putting in more spawning spaces, it won't actually make the farm any better. The only thing you can do to make it better is by making it so that the pigmen die faster. And this shape here seemed like the best bang for your buck as you get the most spawns while also keeping it relatively easy to build up. With this centerpiece here, we try to keep the zombified piglins away from falling down onto any of the redstone down below. So all this redstone here is kind of hidden underneath the pathway. This redstone here is underneath of this pathway. That way they don't accidentally get pushed off and land on it or see it as a place that they could stand on it. This one little piece hangs out here, but it's still 1 block away from everything else. Also with these bridges here, you see the pigmen are really good at staying in the center. Only very rarely do they actually push one off. It's usually in this corner here, so I just added an extra slab so that they don't really shove too much. But they're really good at trying to stay in the center. They try to stay in center so well. I actually have a funny clip of them actually killing themselves because they're staying centered so well. So we don't have to put any kind of like hand railings or anything to prevent them from falling off into the void. This also makes the farm quite a bit cheaper to build up. The player itself is standing directly in the center of all the spawning platforms on top of this trapdoor here. He is standing slightly to the left side to allow the XP to go past this trapdoor down here. Because the XPs will try to go to the center of the player, so if the player's center is a little bit off to the left, means these XPs will also be able to go a little bit to the left and get around this trapdoor. The player is completely encased in bottom slabs, and this is to allow it so if a rare case of a magma cube spawning on these platforms, it would happen to be extremely lucky to hop across this entire thing, wouldn't be able to hurt the player. The little guys would be able to try to hop, but they would just fall downwards, and The big guys wouldn't be able to fit through here to get at the player. But magma cubes are extremely rare occurrence from spawning. You can see one actually spawned here. And there's about a 1 in 80 chance of actually getting a magma cube as a spawn attempt. Now the slabs above it aren't here to prevent magma cubes because they are so rare in spawning. They don't actually affect the mob cap, and it's not worth actually making extra slabs to get rid of them. These are to prevent gas from spawning, because gas are also immune to magma blocks, meaning they can spawn on here. Zombified piglins are as well, that's why they spawn here, as well as magma cubes, and that's how they spawn on here. But normal piglins will not spawn on here because they're not immune to fire. This is something that is new to 1.16. So you need to make sure you build this out of magma blocks. And these are extremely easy to collect just by going down near the lava layer of the nether dimension. You can find large swaths of these. You can easily mine them up with a pickaxe. Even with these in place, gas can still spawn in here, and that's why these slabs are in here to prevent gas from spawning. As a gas will check a 5x5 area around where it spawns. So it'll check 2 blocks out this direction, this way, and this way, and also 4 blocks upwards to see if there's anything that's going to collide with it and see if it can spawn in. So if there was a block here, the gas would be able to spawn in because it won't collide with this. But if we remove this and a gas attempts to spawn here, it'll search out 2 blocks here and look up 4 blocks, and it sees this block here is colliding where its hitbox would be, and therefore it would not be able to spawn in here because it wouldn't be able to fit. So the slabs are 2 blocks in and around the entire things. This is really easy to do as it's a simple straight line you can just build all the way around here. And this also prevents them from spawning in the center because there's no 5 wide area here for them to spawn into. For the bottom layer, there's only 2 high gap, meaning that you don't have to worry about gas or magma cubes down here. And this little extra spawning space right here has some slabs here just to prevent gas as well. Now on these extra spawning platforms, there's also a wall here in each of these corners. This will prevent pigmen from walking in this corner and thinking this is the closest point they can get to the player. By just putting a block there, they recognize the spot that they want to stand in is occupied by the block, and therefore they will pathfind all the way around and go to the player. This also prevents babies from getting stuck behind here and not being able to see the player, because even if they spawn back here, they will be told the player's location and they will be able to pathfind around it. Now to get up to this farm, you most likely will use an elytra, but you can build up a ladder if you want to. I would just fly up here with your elytra, then go over here, and then use your sneak to crawl underneath of here and stand there in the center, a little bit to the left to AFK. Make sure to go ahead and spawn proof any areas where mobs could spawn, like these blocks here, place some buttons on it. Anywhere around here, like there, place some buttons. As well as if you build a storage system, make sure nothing can spawn in it. I'll show you guys how you can get the piglin inside of that little holding cell there. What you want to do is, while you're building this up, just have a platform nearby that isn't magma blocks. So piglin as well as zombified piglins can spawn on this. You want to build in a little bit of scaffolding around here so you can get this guy in here. We want to be able to drop him down into this place right here. So build in a little bit of scaffolding and some rails just like this with the curve one right here. And then you can remove these 2. And then when the piglin spawns in like that, he's going to be afraid of the zombified piglins. Make sure you're wearing some gold so he doesn't attack you. Then you can throw some gold here to kind of attract him over into this area. Throw some gold there. He tries to get it. And then if he's near this rail with the minecart on top, and if you bump it or he bumps it, he'll get automatically picked up by it. Then go ahead and remove this rail, and you want to push him down into there. You don't want him to fall into that side, so you can just close that off like that. And let's just push him in. The reason he's in the minecart is so that he doesn't get picked up by the other minecarts which are nearby. So you drop him in like that. Now you can remove this, and what you want to do to make him go down lower is these trap doors right here. You just close them and open them, and that'll drop them down. Close them, open them, and there. Now he's at the bottom. If you do F3 plus B, you can kind of see his hitbox is right up against the edge of this trapdoor here. So he's able to reach into this area here and pick up the gold. So if I place gold like in this corner over here, you can see he's able to reach all the way over there and grab the gold and sort it. So even the farthest gold he can grab. He can also grab any gold that lands like here or here, happens to really get thrown out. Then he will be able to pick it up and barter with it. And then all his loots are automatically picked up since he's really close to the hoppers. They don't really fly out at like his head level. Since he's sitting down, they pretty much get instantly picked up by the hoppers. And the trapdoors prevent items from flying out. So all the loot he's been sorting ends up down in here. And then just go ahead and close this back off. That goes back down again. Block goes here, and we close all this back up so no mobs will stand in that corner there. Now we do want him to not despawn, as well as we also want him to fill up his inventory so he doesn't pick up any gold ingots. So we do this by dropping 8 gold swords. You get them just by killing these zombified piglins. The gold swords will fill up his inventory slots. Otherwise, he'll try to pick up anything that's gold and store it. So something like gold nuggets, which comes from the farm, he'll take those and just keep storing them in his inventory. He'll never get them back unless you kill him. Now, gold ingots are a little bit different, where he will actually look at them and then he will destroy them, so they never end up in his inventory. Then in return, he'll give you that bartering items. And we can even look at his inventory to see exactly what he has. Look inside it, you can see the entire thing is full of gold swords. Even though he's completely full, he still has the ability to pick up gold ingots and barter for them. And just like that, he is ready to go, guys. Now the way you get to this satellite pigman is you go out 8 blocks away from its edge here. Then you place in a block, and then what we do is try to find a pigman that can pick up some type of sword or some type of armor. Otherwise, you can use a name tag. The whole idea is to not allow them to despawn. Once you find a guy that can pick up something, you can go ahead and push him back here and then remove the walkway out here. Make sure to do this when the difficulty is at difficulty 0.6 or lower. Right now you see it is 1, meaning the difficulty is pretty much maxed out. We want to do this when it's 0.6 or lower. Otherwise, there's a chance of you getting a pigman who can actually see the player from a really far distance away. Even though this is extremely rare, it could occur, and this is why pigman farms sometimes don't work. One way to get your difficulty down is just by changing to normal mode instead of hard mode. Now you see the difficulty is 0.7. We go to easy mode. You can see it went all the way down to 0. So keep that in mind when you are choosing a satellite pigman. Remember to go ahead and share this video with your favorite Minecrafters so they can learn about this amazing yet productive and simple farm for great new items, as well as gold and XPs all in one. And if you're wondering how to build it up, make sure to check out the world download so you can see block for block how to build this up. Make sure you build it inside of another waste biome, that way you get the best spawns. You can find more amazing farms like this on my YouTube channel, and tell me in comments if there's some other farm you want me to design, as well as leave a like on the video. I'd like to thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye bye!